The creation of artificial intelligence via magic is ancient. There is evidence that primitive human societies were producing animated objects capable of autonomous thought as early as 20,000 years ago, in the Age of Dragons. The science and philosophy of artificial life is nearly as old as the practice itself. Ancient draconic scripts and musings from the same time period reflected many debates, both philosophical and legal, about the nature of animated objects, whether they had souls, and whether they ought to be afforded legal protection. Of course, all of this was tinted with the shade of animated objects made by dragons. The dragons didn't even consider other life forms to be sacred, let alone their inventions. Regardless, it still points to an early philosophical wonder about what constitutes a meaningful life. This question was, to some degree, answered by the discovery of sympathetic magic, which kicked off the Age of Chaos about 16,000 years ago. Souls, it turns out, are simply the result of an accumulation of sympathy on the weave, the exact same process that ultimately produces gods, devils, angels, demons, daemons, and a slew of other monsters. As a result, anything at all can be given life that is given enough sympathetic energy, love, hate, etc. In fact, modern transmutation magic often performs this process in reverse. Instead of animating an object and caring for it until it develops a proper soul and intelligence, wizards, witches, and animists will often snatch up an existing daemon, a tiny soul, and draw it into an object to serve as its body. Machine intelligence is a little understood science, even some 40 years after it was first developed by Immer. This is due in part to the sheer complexity of the machines involved. Equally problematic, however, is the closely guarded nature of their manufacture and origin. Both state secrets of a distant overseas nation with whom we are at war. To this end, Immer's barren access to the weave serves as a boon. Divination and scrying are nearly useless against a nation that is wholly disconnected from magic. What is known, however, is the following. The technology revolves around incredibly complex clockwork devices that effectively serve as brains for the machines, which the Emmerichs call processing cores. These cores are known to contain gold, copper, glass, ceramic, steel, aluminum, emerald, and a multitude of alloys and materials yet to be identified. Processing cores contain parts too fine, fragile, and complicated to be manufactured or replicated by any currently known means of industry, even in Immer. Each processing core also includes the knowledge of how to create more processing cores. Any intelligent Emmerich machine is capable of making others of its own intelligence or lower. As of yet, all attempts to extract this knowledge by force, coercion, or diplomacy have failed, suggesting that each core includes fail-safes to prevent discovery of the process. The technology coincides with the natural sympathetic birth of Emrys, a god of anti-magic, or more specifically, triumph of the mundane over magic, about 90 years ago. Naturally, giving intelligence to something comes with a complicated array of problems and questions, both moral and pragmatic. Although our existing body of research largely revolves around intelligence granted by magic, many modern experts theorize that the same principles are very likely to apply to intelligent machines. Morally, it's widely accepted that if something is too intelligent, its continued use as a magical implement is akin to slavery, and its destruction is akin to murder. More troubling still is that when such an item has existed for a sufficient amount of time and received a sufficient amount of sympathy, it develops a soul, if it wasn't built upon one to begin with, at which point its existence is eternal and the gods may begin to care about its well-being. These problems are usually addressed by either not making items more intelligent than they need to be, or by building them with pleasure functions that coincide with the desired behavior. The argument, in essence, is that by creating something that enjoys and feels only pleasure from its service, no wrongdoing occurs in encouraging that item to indulge itself in that service. This has led to a slew of ongoing debates on the nature and ethics of programmatic mind control. There is also inherent pragmatic danger to making an artificially intelligent object too intelligent, value drift. By definition, intelligence is never the result of simple processes. A thing that operates on simple processes is inherently dumb. On the other hand, any sufficiently complicated process becomes harder to predict and control. As a result, even a very simple-minded intelligence may begin to experience subtle changes in its reasoning over time, a concept known as value drift. It is the inherent purpose of intelligence to be trusted with some degree of autonomy. After all, for a simple task like grinding wheat or locking a door, we could use simple, obedient machines like windmills and padlocks. To accomplish more complicated tasks, we must develop complicated intelligence, capable of inferring meaning and motive from context. And then we must trust those intelligence as they spiral into an endless tree of decisions and educated guesses in the pursuit of whatever goal we've given them. Over time, these increasingly complex decision trees can manifest in entirely unpredictable ways, resulting in behavior or desires that change over time. A human being, whose ultimate goal is simple, happiness, might be passionate for their career in their youth, then drift towards a docile family life in their old age. In the same way, an artificial intelligence with a simple goal might value one intermediate task initially, then come to value different or even conflicting tasks over time, in pursuit of the same goal. The danger of value drift is especially high in intelligence that develop sympathetic autonomy, or souls. Those creations may someday choose to override their entire purpose for being, based on processes of sympathetic magic we do not yet understand. The Magi-Industrial Revolution following the Emmerich War has ignited a number of new attempts in the world of artificial intelligence, and it's been particularly popular in Wexisas, to pursue the integration of both magical and machine intelligence, believing that the result may be either more intelligent, more obedient, or both. Research quickly demonstrated that even extremely intelligent Emmerich processing cores are incredibly resistant to magical enchantment. This arcanophobic construction was proved to be very tricky. It is equally difficult to control the machine with magic and to magically awaken it. The less complicated bodies of these machines are easy enough to affect with magic. They are often nothing more than steel and can be affected as such. But within the shell of the core, their mind, magic seems to be ineffective.